What's going on, everybody? Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here, and today I've got a really important lesson about counting and maybe exploring different time signatures and like a good way to do it if maybe it's something you're having trouble with. So make sure you click the link below because I'm going to tab out a little bit of what we're doing, and it's a really simple lesson that we're just going to go over a few different chords. I'm sure you already know the chords, but it's how you play them that determines the count, okay? So we're going to start off with A minor. Open A, 2D, 2G, 1B, open E. Okay? Now, most songs are in what's called 4/4. That means every bar gets 4 counts. So if you're going to count it, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could strum it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All downstrokes, right? The next step would be to add upstrokes to the and beats, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay? So counting might be something that you've never actually tried before, but it is probably the most underrated skill that any musician can have, no matter what instrument you're playing, even just like singing. Diagnosing counts is going to be something you're really going to want to look forward to, practicing, and it's really just going to enhance your playing, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to emphasize the 1, and we're going to stay in 4 for just a second. And the way we're going to emphasize the 1 is by striking the root note of the chord and then hitting the downstroke on the 2, 3, and 4. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hit that root note every time you're on the 1. And that gives us a better sense of what the count is actually doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a better way to kind of count with your instrument, even if this isn't like in a song that you're playing. It's also a great practice for using a pick to maybe pick out a single note within a chord, or if you're using your finger. And it also just kind of gives a different sound to what you're doing chord-wise, all right? So let's do these back and forth with 2 chords, just A minor and C major. Again, 3A, 2D, open G, 1B, open E. Now our root note here is the 3rd fret on the A string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll do 4 bars of each, okay? 4 bars of A, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then to C, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a very traditional 4 count of a song. Now, most songs are in 4/4 time signature, but you want to explore different ones, and the second most common one would be in 3/4. All that means is you count to 3 instead of 4. Simple enough, right? Otherwise known as a waltz. So what we're going to do is now we're going to strike the same thing as before. 1 is going to be the root note, but then 2, 3 is going to be the chord. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it with the C chord now. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's a very, basic way to start playing the 3/4. Now, the cool thing about 3/4, and something that happens a lot, and one question that I get a lot is like, what's the difference between 3/4 and 6/8, or 3/4 and 6/4, something like that. So you can actually double the amount of bars, and then maybe do something different on the second downbeat. So if that sounds confusing, don't worry, this is in the tab. The first count of 3, we're going to get the A string, 1, 2, 3. And then the second count, maybe let's get the string below it, the low E string. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We have a little bit of a dichotomy in what's happening now. We're just going back and forth, bouncing back, getting an alternate type rhythm. Do the same thing with the C chord. Now notice the C chord, when I switched to going back and forth between the A and the E string, I added the low G in a C chord. So this is another way to play a C chord, where now I have the 3rd fret of the E string, the 3rd fret of the A string, and the rest is the same, just so I can get a different bass note. Now you can do this open like this, And not that that sounds bad, it's just not really a traditional way to play chords, okay? So it's another way that you can start just diagnosing things. Again, you can also add the and strokes in between, like 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. I always think it's a great practice to go directionally instead of just all downstrokes, because you want to be able to fluidly go down and up, but do it while counting. That's super important. All right. So a cool thing to do is maybe go back and forth between 4 and 3. Now, unless you're in like a prog rock band or something, this might not happen in a song, but it's really great practice for your mind, being able to switch between counts. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3. Now, again, besides being good practice, we could compound those and make a different count. So what that would be, what's 4 plus 3? 7. You can say that you're playing in 7, but really you're just playing in 4 and 3. And that's where some of these more complicated time signatures, I think, are better broken down for you if you're just starting out. Instead of counting to 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because the word 7 has 2 syllables, it can kind of break up your rhythm, because usually when you're counting, your head's like bop, 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 bop. So that's why breaking a count into smaller counts can be an easier way to play a longer time signature. Now, the other example that I want to do is something in 5/4. I would say that's probably the third most common, or one of the more common odd time signatures. And again, there's a couple different ways we can do it. We can count to 5, or we can count to 4 and 1. So first we're going to count to 5, all right? Same thing, A minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So aside from that, that might not be the most fluid sounding count, but once we kind of do a compound thing, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. That's breaking that 5 count into a 4 count and a 1 count. I think the best way to play 5 is breaking it into 3 and 2. Again, we're getting into a little bit of math, so some of you guitar players might already be gone. But breaking a 5 count into 3 and 2 is one of my favorite things to do, because I think it sounds cool. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now you notice the first 3 count, I'm rooting on the A string. The second 3 count, I'm rooting on the E string. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Especially once you start incorporating the and strokes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. And no matter what I'm doing down and upwise, you can hear the bass notes where I'm splitting the beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. I think playing 5 is something that is great for your musicianship. It also kind of helps you get into a little bit of a groove. And personally, I think it's so much easier to take a compound time signature like that, get a 3 count and a 2 count, than counting in 5. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. To me, that doesn't flow as nicely as 1, 2. There's a little bit more of a fluidity to that, and that's something that I like to stress in my teaching, because once you can really fluidly strum things, that all comes from being able to count. Because no matter what level you're at, when you first pick up a guitar, you can go down and up, right? Some people have, a harder time really locking into a rhythm, but anybody can just go down and up. And maybe we do it with a metronome. That's something that's super helpful with your counting. But yeah, I really think that once you kind of just maybe focus a little bit more in on the counting, it's going to be a lot easier for you. So hopefully you learned something. Really practice this by counting songs that you're listening to, because you might find that a song you really like is in an odd time signature. Maybe that's something you want to incorporate in your own playing. So again, make sure you click the link below to grab the tabs for this lesson, and let us know if you have any comments in the comment section below or any requests for future lessons. Thanks a lot.